I am blessed again today to share with you another wonderful guest and her story of getting tremendous results against rheumatoid arthritis. Her name is Rita. She's from a beautiful part of the world in California, and she is going to talk about how she managed to sidestep all of the worst aspects of this condition by throwing everything at her health and getting as healthy as she possibly could in as short as possible time. So it's Rita all the way from California. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Clint, for having me on here. I hope that I can inspire at least one person, if not more,
Well,
from my
I
story.
certainly, I certainly think you will. You know, we've only spent a little bit of time going over your situation, so I'm going to learn a lot, and I'm already inspired with what you've shared with me so far. So the date I've written down here is 2008, which was the year you were diagnosed with rheumatoid. Um, let's start that point and tell me what happened, and then we'll get into all of these tremendous things that you did to improve your health.
Okay. I was on vacation. It was back in 2008. And I remember having this very burning like sensation in my feet. That's where it started. And it took off pretty fast from there. Next thing I know, my elbows were hurting, my knees were hurting, and it went into my neck and uh, my elbows. Did I say that? Every finger, both wrist. And then it was my jaw that locked up. And when it locked up, I wasn't really able to even barely put a straw through my mouth. And that's when my husband said, I think we need to go to the doctor. So he drove me to a rheumatologist in Rancho Mirage, California, where we were vacationing. But the doctor referred me to somebody in my own hometown. So 4 days later, we drove home. And that's when I began seeing a local rheumatologist in my area. And immediately he wanted to put me on prednisone. And I agreed for 3 short weeks. So I tapered off after about 10 days. And so when I went back to him, he asked me how it was. And he was expecting that, this was going to be an amazing wonder drug, which it was. I felt no pain. But when I was at the office, I saw crippled people, and I knew because my sister had rheumatoid arthritis 30 years ago. She was diagnosed, and she's 2 years younger than I. I just knew that it was really not for me, So the next drug was methotrexate that he wanted to have me put me on. But I thanked him graciously and said, I think before I do any of this, I want to seek out my own alternative options. And so I began on my search. And in my search, I fell into a great doctor who was a functional medicine doctor. And she was also, luckily, she had an autoimmune disease herself. So she really understood where I was coming from. And she was a holistic doctor as well as a medical doctor. So I felt I was in great hands and felt really lucky to have crossed paths with her. So everything began with her, and it started with supplements and changing my diet, elimination of gluten, dairy, soy. She did a lot of testing to find out what I was allergic to. I mean, this particular test, I don't know if I can say the name of it,
Sure.
but it's Genova.
Hmm.
And it was very detailed. I mean, right down to even how much copper my body had, magnesium. I mean, it just was like a open book of everything, every wiring like in my body. It was pretty amazing. And so after she got the results of that, she was able to work with me on getting me on supplements, and then suggested infrared saunas. And so from there, I went into, let's see, I'm trying to remember so many things. Um, I
First of all,
oh she suggested that I even see a therapist, because she said, I had a lot of stress in my life at the time, and she
Mhm.
said mind and body work together. So if I'm going to help you, I need you to also have your mind being worked with as well, so we can work with both together. So I agreed, and then I started feeling better, but I still wanted to take my health in my own hands. So I continued just just went at it with everything. I mean, I went to an Ayurvedic practitioner, an acupuncturist. I went to, gosh, the list goes on here. I began meditation. I went to restorative yoga and learned to breathe differently than I was actually breathing. And I learned 3-step deep breathing, and that helped me to sleep better at night. So I was getting better nights of sleep. Lots of prayer and yoga and, chiropractic, naturopathic doctors. I mean, I just went at it with everything. And then little by little, I started to feel better. And I went back to the gym because I'd always been a gym member, but I couldn't even lift a coffee cup, and here I was lifting like 15-pound dumbbells at one time in each arm, and I couldn't even lift a coffee cup. So then I returned and started out with very light weights, and then built myself back up to strength training, which, I read that was a lot, really important. But luckily I already knew that because I loved being strong and being only 5'2". I like to lift my own groceries and carry things in without having to ask all the time. So I was already ahead of the game by knowing that I had a passion for strength training. But then I started feeling so well. I started playing tennis. I was hiking, swimming, doing Zumba. I mean, I was just doing everything and even more before I had R. I became more active because I became more conscious of how important moving my body was so important. And I've always been active, so it was really easy for me to do that. When I went to the Ayurvedic people, they taught me how to regulate. I was eating whenever because I was in real estate and I was just throwing things down fast and, probably really affecting my gut the way I was just eating in a hurry. And in Ayurvedic, they teach you to be more mindful about every mouth, full, and chewing and eating and quietness. So I had to relearn a lot at age, I think I was 50 or 52 when I first got this. When I first got RA. So they helped me regulate my eating times. Then I learned about green smoothies, and I really started getting into mostly plant-based food eating and added starch, thanks to Dr. John McDougall, because I'd come across his stuff back in 2008. I didn't ever really eat red meat, except for maybe once a year, but I just completely took that out. And then I lessened processed food. So I learned a lot about stress, being mindful, and, awareness of breath, and a lot about my inner thoughts, how to control my inner thoughts and change my way of thinking. And learned that this was going to be a lifestyle for life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So you've just covered so much there. So I have a lot of questions now.
Okay.
So first of all, how are your symptoms now compared to all of the troublesome areas that you had when it was at its worst in the early stages?
Okay. I don't have any pain anywhere. I'm not going to say that, I did get hit with RA like in my hands, but they seem to be pretty normal. These 4 knuckles are a little bit big, larger, not big, just larger, but not any bigger than they were back in 2008. So it sort of just all stopped. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, rarely do I take an Advil or Tylenol or anything if I happen to get a headache for something. Maybe it was stress or something, but no, I'm pain-free from head to toe.
And how long have you been pain-free?
I think it started a lot sooner than I actually expected, but after a couple months, 2, 3, 4 months, something like that, I really started to just feel better and better and better. And I kept, throwing things in the fire, anything I could think of, like the Ayurvedic and the acupuncture and the chiropractor and deep breathing and yoga. And so the more I did, the better I conquered it a lot quicker. So this is not something that you don't take it lightly, and it can be a lot of fun, really, getting to know yourself and your body, what you can eat. And oh my gosh, plant-based food is so delicious. I don't feel like I'm missing out at all on the old food. salty, greasy food. No, thank you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the thing is, you know the difference when you get done eating that kind of food, the old
Yeah.
food. It's like you don't feel very good when you eat really clean, healthy food. You just feel so amazing and energetic and clear-minded. So I love it. So no
Mm.
pain, good, healthy diet. Um,
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, so let me move through some of these questions here because you answered my next one, which was how long did it take to actually clear that inflammation and so forth. And you're saying it was more months, multiple months rather than multiple years.
oh,
Would that be
yes.
fair? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think the first year was the toughest because, you learn. It's sort of like when you're trying to teach a toddler, certain things like not to
Yeah.
touch something, so you
Yeah.
touch this food and you get your hand slapped because you realize your body is going to talk to you and say, no, no, you can't have that. So,
Yeah.
it was a lot of trial and error thinking, oh, when you feel better, you think you can cheat.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a way to satisfy yourself without cheating with the old food. There really is, and it's just a way of learning. And eventually, you surround yourself with these kind of people that are doing the same thing and eating healthy, and it becomes kind of you know
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, and especially where you live as well. Your area will be able to source more plant-based foods, more healthy lifestyle in California. You're up towards the Bay Area, especially. So it's a great place to be if you're looking for some nice, healthy, and I guess enlightened options with regards to thinking about the planet, thinking about animals, and so forth as well. So that's in your favor. I want to point out as well, you never did our program. You never did the Patterson program. In 2008, when you were diagnosed and started working on all this, I was in the midst of my own hell. I wasn't thinking about creating a program. I was thinking about how do I bypass elbow surgery? I mean, I was in absolute dire straits at that time on maximum dose methotrexate and worsening. So I just wanted to point that out to people as well. You didn't go through as as strict an elimination process as what a lot of people do. You've changed your diet, which is and made some great choices. Ended up plant based. And a lot of these other things that you did were instrumental for you. And I wanted to ask you about those. Oh, and first of all, a comment on the Genova test. I haven't looked at that in about a year, but I believe that they also do now. They also do an oxidative stress test as well. And I, at one point, was looking at getting that done for myself because oxidative stress is sort of a research area of mine that I'm passionate about. I never pulled the trigger on it, but I still want to get that done, and it's something that hasn't come up in other conversations with other guests, and it's something that if people are looking at it, I do think it's a good idea, and if their doctor can order it for them, I think it's great. So the information, obviously, that your functional medicine doctor gained from that was obviously helpful.
Right. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
great test. I recommend it to anybody. It just um, it's just amazing. It just shows you so much about
Mm.
your body, every little um, you know,
Yeah, well, fatty acid profile comes up too, I think, on it. And so the two things that I'd be looking at, because a lot of the nutritional deficiencies and stuff, I believe that we can sort of correct by basically following a plant-based diet, exercising more, microbiome improves. A lot of the stuff tends to sort of naturally go in the right direction when your body's healing. But things like the fatty acid profile can be really helpful to put aside the concerns we might have if we're saying, oh, it's low fat. Am I getting enough of my fats? And that's a really helpful analysis. And I think that the team over at the Goldberg Clinic use, I don't know if they use the Genova test, but they do this as one of their tests, getting that fatty acid profile, I believe, if I recall correctly. And so, yeah, it's interesting. If the doctor understands the results, that being a key part of it, then it's a good test to get done. The infrared saunas, did you ever go and actually start your infrared saunas, or was it something that you took note of and didn't get to?
My functional medicine doctor suggested, and she had one in her office that she rented out per
Yep.
so many minutes or something. And so I was lucky it was so convenient to just
Yep.
go there and sit for 10, 15 minutes, or whatever, it was like twice
Yep.
a week or something. And I
Yep.
think that was really important to detox the body.
Yep.
Cleanses are really good too.
Yep.
I've kind of played a little bit with that, but not as seriously, the celery and the cucumber
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's it was just, I was just really lucky to come across this functional medicine doctor, because really back in 2008, there was nothing compared to what there is today online, the books that are available, the material, and even much healthier food. I mean, even though there's gluten-free processed food out there, I don't really promote that to anybody, because it's still processed food. It's just a
Yeah.
marketing gimmick, so they take out the wheat, but it's still junk food.
Right. Yeah, right.
So I really steer away from, like, have an apple, have a plum, have a nectarine, slice open a pineapple. That's my type of treat.
Okay. Yeah. So whole foods. I mean, the obvious, humble but delicious approach.
Yep, exactly. And
Okay.
let's see, what else? Do you have any other
Well,
questions?
I've got a couple other things I wanted to say, and I've taken a few other notes here. What do you think of all of these things that you did? If you had to say which one you suspected was most important, or would you be able to stab at a hierarchy of importance for other people who are wanting to, spend their hard-earned money in one direction? Was there one thing above the other that you think was most crucial?
Well, getting somebody to guide you, first of all,
Right, right,
a
good.
coach like
Hmm.
yourself.
Hmm.
The books, I think, you have a
Hmm.
wonderful book out. I understand, I haven't purchased it yet. Um, I think that's number one. And then I think, getting with the right coach or doctor, functional medical doctor, they can get you on the right supplements, and then they can taper you off those medication
Yeah.
supplements after a while. I'm not on that many supplements anymore, but I swear when I first saw her, I'd line up these bottles, and I swear they went from one end of my snack bar to the other end, and I thought, holy cow, that's a lot of supplements. And I just eventually just started feeling better and thought, okay, I don't think I need this. I don't think I need that. And I started kind of advocating what I was willing to take and what I wasn't, because I feel like your body still has to process, your kidneys, your
Yeah.
liver, they all have to process those capsules. So, be really careful about getting overwhelmed by too many capsules and supplements. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, I completely agree, and it can actually complicate your treatment plan. And so, I consider every other supplement that you have to be another variable. And so, if you're keeping the same diet every day, and then you start reintroducing foods, or you, start testing a different form of exercise on one part of your body, and you're waiting to see how your body responds. But if you then got all of these supplements, then every time you stop taking one or you add an extra sort of pill of another one, it's a change. And you just then start questioning, was it the supplement or was it something else? So yeah, the more complicated,
Yeah.
the less attractive, so I completely agree with your intuition there, is just let's keep it simple. And you're right, it's all got to be metabolized through the liver, and that poor liver is probably under stress, and all the detoxing that we do is to take the pressure off that liver. So that was a smart thing there to start to negotiate and say, I don't think I need that one because I'm eating better food, or that food's full of that potassium. Why should I need that?
Right.
So yeah,
Right. Yeah,
yes,
I think that having a coach, and that, they're going to guide you. I'm really lucky because the functional medicine doctor was helping me with what I ate. So I
yeah,
do think that eating clean is a really good way to add to your healing, and
yeah.
body movement, awareness of your thoughts and your breath. Oh my gosh. I don't think a lot of us know how we don't even breathe correctly anymore, where stress changes your
Mhm.
pattern of breathing. And so,
Just
yeah.
talk about that a little bit more. With your breath, what did you change with your breath after you started looking more at the at that area, the restorative yoga, the Ayurvedic angle? What did you learn about your breath that you then changed, and what do you do to improve your breath work?
Um, yeah, just remembering to check in with your breathing and see where you are, especially if you're in a hurry somewhere. Be conscious of that and change. Just be conscious of your breath and listen to it. And then sometimes, if you are stressed, take a nice deep breath and even hold your breath for so many seconds and then let it go with a big, release, and let all these toxins come out of your breath. That's another way to release toxins, they say, is,
Mm,
breath work.
mm,
So, yeah, I think it also helped me to sleep at night. I do the 3-step where you breathe in 3 steps, holding your breath, and then you release it 3 steps out. And gosh, after 4 or 5 of those, I'm asleep. And I used to have a hard time because I was in a lot of pain initially. I mean, I was shuffling around the house like an 80-year-old
yeah.
woman. I couldn't even lift my feet off the ground. They hurt so bad in my knees.
Mm.
So now I jump on a trampoline. I've got 5 grandchildren and I run around and play with them and do everything. Nothing has really stopped me.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Because before we hit record too, another doctor was expecting that you might be about to start Humira as well before you were shown from a blood test that you were all clear and you didn't need to start Humira as well when you had your elbow problem. So I might be filling in a gap there that we missed in our conversation that you mentioned to me prior. But I don't want to let you off the hook here with this blood work. Can you walk us? Sorry, with the breath work. Can you show us the exact breath work you do before bed? Because so many people struggle with falling asleep. And if you
Okay.
think it helps to go to sleep, I'll follow along. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
Okay. So you're just going to breathe in like, okay, I'll just do it without
Yeah.
giving the,
Okay. Yeah.
okay. So you just like, you know, and you hold it.
Hmm.
And then you just feel so good. It really
Okay.
relaxes you.
So
It
you take a
slows
very
down your
deep.
heart rate. You can
Mhm.
feel it. So you do 3, 4, or 5 of those, and you can feel a difference right away. Huge difference in the way that your body, it brings down any stress or
Mhm.
any feeling of feeling um, anxious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how you
So
do?
we
Just
take a
breathe in,
deep
holding
breath
it.
in, hold, and
Yeah.
then breathe out in 3 sections, like one,
Yeah. So
2,
just
3. 3 in, hold.
and then hold it for 7, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, however you can. If you can only hold 2 seconds initially, then just hold it 2
Yeah.
seconds and then just 3 out.
Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Wonderful. Now, what else can I extract from you? You're like you're like a mine full of wonderful diamonds, and it's my job to try and get them out here. Tell us about your approach to exercise. You said that you got back into strength training and you were and were able to then lift 15 pounds after previously you couldn't hold a coffee cup because of the pain in the fingers
That's
and so
right.
forth.
Yeah,
Um,
I've always been a member of the gym, and I love working out and being strong because I'm petite. I'm 5'2", weigh 116 pounds now, but most of my life it's been between 111, 112.
mhm.
So the weight training builds more muscle,
Yeah.
which is good.
Good. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was lifting 15 pounds, bench pressing, like 15 pounds in dumbbells each arm. I was bench pressing. I was doing leg press.
Mm.
Just, I had a whole routine of every part of my body, back, chest, tricep, bicep. So
Yeah.
I was quite into it. And it was just pathetic when I got RA. I couldn't even lift a coffee cup.
Mm.
And it was so scary. It was just like, ugh, and I'm talking about an empty coffee cup,
Yeah.
couldn't even lift that. It would be so painful. And my fingers, I remember when I would go to dry my hands, oh my God, they were so painful. Just, I would blot them to wash my hands. And I cook a lot, and you're always washing your hands and you're washing food. So it was really painful to cook for me at the time. But back to the training in the gym, it took a while, but I was very patient, and I just knew, you really have to have a lot of intent and a lot of faith in yourself, because these bodies that we have been given and that God created, they're very intellectual. They know how to go back to being healthy if you give them, all the right substances. And, my doctor, functional medicine doctor, used to say, it's what you bathe your body in. So if you bathe it in bad, it treats you bad. If you bathe it good, it treats you good. So I learned to bathe my body in good things: yoga, meditation, prayer, strength training, and all of it helps. And the more you do it, the better you feel, and the more you want to do it. It becomes almost addictive, because you feel so good when you do it. And when you don't do it is when you don't feel so good. So that's just a reminder: when you don't do it, you feel crappy, you just go, I'm going to put my tennis shoes on and go for a run or a walk or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm back at the gym, other than the pandemic closed everything down. So I'm not back at the gym per se, but I was back at the gym shortly after. I would say maybe 6 months into it, I began lifting little by little. And I even just going there, sometimes I wouldn't even spend very much time, but I'd see all these people that I was surrounded working and being all muscular, and I wanted to just be around that kind of energy. And sometimes I would give myself a reason to leave after 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but my usual workouts are about an hour and a half.
It's a solid workout. I agree with you.
But during that time, it's okay if you can only work out 10-15 minutes. Just going there gives you the motivation. You see other people, and they're your tribe, they're your community.
I love it. It's aspirational when you see people doing things that are on the same machine that you use, and they're doing a little more. You think, okay, like I can see the direction to go there. It's your tribe, and it's also the habit. The thing is, if we just go all the time and we build that habit, and we're just in the rhythm of showing up at that time every single day, you almost can't avoid improvements, because you're there constantly and you're doing it and your body does respond. So love that. Fantastic. A lot of the things you say are exactly the same things that a lot of us understand and think, and you're a big action taker. You must have been able to allocate a lot of time for this. So how did you arrange your life to allocate so much time?
I think it's just mind over matter. It's like, what's important to you. I think a lot of people waste time, fooling around with their phones. I mean, that's a good hour's worth of time wasted. Maybe not for all, because people are reading news and really educational things, but you just got to prioritize what's important. And I think getting well was really important to me. I look at this like, if you were to go to war, you don't take a swift army knife with you, and think you're going to fight the war with this little knife. You take as much ammunition as possible, so that's the same thing. You try strength training, you do yoga, meditation, prayer, supplements, plant-based food. You just try everything. Why not? It's really fun. And I'm really grateful this happened to me. I was diagnosed with RA, because it really opened up my mind and my soul to a whole nother world. It taught me that I needed to be more mindful, become more aware, and notice things, even my thoughts, be more accepting of my life, be more accepting of people in my life. And yeah, it's been a good thing. Yeah, it's maybe I'm probably more healthy now than I was before even RA. I really do think at 64, I feel like I'm 34. I feel good. I feel great. Yeah. I have a lot of energy. I sleep well. I garden, so I grew a lot of my vegetables this year. And, that takes a lot. If you can imagine having RA and the fingers, how you couldn't do anything like that before. I couldn't. I've lived in this property for 20 years where I live. And when I had gotten diagnosed, I couldn't garden. My fingers hurt too much. So I had to give it up for, a couple years, but I'm back and it's good.
Ah, love it. Just on gardening, I think that's another thing that you're doing. You might not even be aware of the benefits of gardening, but there's a book called The Blue Zones, and it's an analysis of all the parts of the world where the people live the longest, and the consistent daily activity in terms of exercise that most of the longest living people on earth do is gardening. That's the number one longevity exercise. It's not as extreme as what we might need when we're going through a sort of a poor health state. We need to get out of that state. But once we're into a maintenance phase, gardening's your number one thing. So, you're down the grid. There's a correlation between length of life and quad strength. And see, when you're bent over and you've got bend in your knees and you're gardening, you're constantly engaging your quadriceps. And I believe there's a correlation there with strength in the legs and longevity. And you're in the sun and you're in the soil, you're touching the bacteria. All of this stuff is like back to nature. So a little bit of a sidetrack there. But gosh, everything you're doing is just so supportive of your goals. So it's fantastic. There's one thing you said before we hit record here that I wanted you to repeat about your husband who's passionate about golf and you're passionate about health. What are the parallels there with your husband's golf game?
But I really made the connection. He's a great golfer. He golfs like 3 days a week, and he's been golfing since he was 10 years old. And so he's a little bit older than me. So that tells you how many years he's been golfing. And he's very healthy and still out there. Does not take a cart. He walks.
Yeah.
So he is always perfecting his game. He's watching videos. He gets out there and putts on our property. He still takes lessons if something goes, south and he can't get it back, So what I learned is like, wow, his passion is golf and he's perfecting that every time he goes to play golf. Well, actually almost every day there's some form of golf in his head. In fact, I think he's watching the tournament on TV right now. So I just figured my thing is my passion is health and getting well. And so I am perfecting my game. My game is RA, and I am perfecting that every day. It's a part of my everyday life. So if a golfer can perfect his game, an RA person can perfect their life in the same way. Just love it, be passionate about it, be patient. Golfers have to be patient. So, yeah, I think some people, they want a quick fix. The medication is easier to just pop a pill and be done with it. But it does catch up with you later. I think, because I have a sister that was diagnosed 35 years ago, and I've seen her go that route. She chose, to do the medication. Of course, maybe back then they didn't have a lot of functional medicine and holistic and all the stuff we have today. So I saw that, and that's when I knew I needed to go a different route for myself. I wanted something different. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rough disease. There's no doubt about it. And you have definitely defied the odds and the statistics to be able to sidestep the worst portions of it, as I said right at the start. Being, on that medication roundabout that is common and unfortunately necessary where the disease is uncontrolled. But you've also managed to sidestep a lot of the symptoms as well from the disease itself, and you've turned this into something extraordinary. You have made health your mission. And you have drawn upon very resourcefully all of the opportunities for improvement around you, from getting the right tests done, you're doing the detoxing with the saunas, you go and getting your breath work done, doing restorative yoga, And then getting back into tennis, weightlifting, hiking, you mentioned, Jimmy, meditation. I mean, you really, and of course, all the dietary side of things. So, we know we know we need a holistic approach for this condition, and you have taken that to the absolute extreme and have addressed all aspects of your health, and the results are magnificent. So, congratulations. There's just what an outstanding achievement.
Thank you. Thank you. Well,
Mm.
it has, definitely not been easy. It's been hard work, but it's been so rewarding. And I would have never done it any other way just so I could get through it faster. The journey has been really a great learning experience for me. And, I just embraced it. And when I got RA, or when I was diagnosed, let me say it that way, I guess I didn't say, why me? Why did I get this? Poor me. I looked at it and embraced it and said, okay, what does this mean? What is my body trying to tell me? What is my mind trying to tell me? And then slowly but surely, I figured it out, that I needed to slow down, and I needed to eat better, and I needed to breathe better, and I needed to have more just awareness and attention to myself. And it's a lot of self-care, but heck, why not spoil ourselves? It's worth it. If
That's
you
right.
love yourself, it's nice to kind of take care of yourself.
Oh, most definitely. And, when you were speaking there, I had a little insight. When we get deep into a career path, it becomes more and more esoteric and more niche. But when we go on a health path, it becomes more and more humble and more common sense. So we get away from the complex, and we have to unravel and actually let go of our extreme academia mind and just say, I got to eat some simple foods. I got to go out and get back into nature. I got to move my body more. I have to relax and breathe better. It's so humbling for for most of us who have these careers that we're passionate about. You're in real estate, with your husband, probably had a great business and everything, and just focused on that. And really, health is about unwinding the brain and getting back to real fundamental. We are a mammal on a piece of dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's
that's
exactly
what we
it.
are. Yep.
It's so simple, really. I mean, it's not complicated. You can make it complicated in your head, like this is so much to do, but it's really not. It's very simple. And I think what it is just trying to be human again. And I
Yeah.
think we've lost sight of that. I think we become unhuman, which caused the stress and the complicated lifestyle that we're living. So I think if you can find a simple way to live, I think it's kind of the key, because it lowers the stress level, and you give yourself some good, simple food that was created for our kind of
Yeah.
temples.
Yeah.
And we should honor these temples. They're not here forever. So they serve us well. We put a lot of miles on them, and I think they deserve to be treated well.
Yeah. Well said. All right. Well, thank you very much. This has been a really enjoyable conversation, and
Thank you,
I
Ken.
wish you ongoing wonderful health.
Well, thank you. And I hope this inspires others. If it's just one person, that makes me happy, but hopefully it'll be others, and many. So thank you for all that you do. Keep doing it. And I love following you. It's great. You're wonderful.